this story I'd like to tell you is the dreaming story about how these dunes came into being. A long time ago, the land was very flat and the bush grew next to the seashore. One day, the Warramai were out gathering their food for the day. The men were hunting the animals with their spears and their boomerangs, while the women were out picking berries and digging pippies from the wet sand. Then suddenly, Malu appeared. Now, Malu, the storm spirit, brought with him Wurrama, the wind spirit, and Garua, the sea spirit. And together they created a fierce storm that pounded the land and frightened the Warramai people. They thought that they had been punished by Malu and they didn't know the reason why. So a wise old Warramai man called Bapu gathered up his people and they moved inland over to a place called Gangobah Bay. After many weeks, Jukan, the sun spirit, came out from behind the clouds, bringing warmth to the land and causing Malu to disappear. Wurrama turned into a soft breeze and Garua calmed the ocean. The Warramai were happy that Malu had gone and decided to return to their camps and settle in their normal ways of living, hunting and gathering. But when they came here, everything was different. They were very surprised at what they saw. Wurrama had pushed the sand from the seashore and formed large sand hills. The Warramai noticed that there were also freshwater lagoons between the high sand hills and the seashore. The land had changed forever. There was lagoons, there was plenty of animals, there was plenty of fish, and there was plenty of fresh water. And the Warramai lived on these lands from that day forward for thousands and thousands of years. This is the story of Dungara and Gangobah. Dungara was a wise old man who was very skillful at catching fish. He would stand silently in waist-deep water with his fishing spear, waiting for the fish to swim by. When the time was right, he would throw his spear with great force and accuracy at the unsuspecting fish. Now up on the beach, Gangobah was there hiding in the bushes. And every time a fish landed on the beach, Gangobah would sneak down and take it. From the corner of his eye, Dungara could see the fish being eaten by Gangobah. He yelled out angrily, "Gangobah, you are eating my fish. Leave, or I will throw my fish spear at you." Gangobah refused to stop. So Dungara threw his spear at Gangobah, who dodged the spear and dove into the water. Bayami, the great spirit, was watching the commotion going on. And he said to Gangobah, "Gangobah, you have taken the fish that Dungara has caught, and for that you must be punished." The great spirit Bayami used his power and turned Gangobah into a black cormorant and said to Gangobah, "You will forever be a bird that dives down deep into the water to catch your own fish. Bayami then spoke to Dungara and said to him, "You are a very skillful fisherman who will not share your catch, and for that you will also be punished." Again, Bayami used his power and turned Dungara into a pelican. "You will also be forever a bird that skillfully catches his fish by your large beak. Your colour will be black and white, and I will mark you with a yellow circle around your eyes. So you'll be known to everyone as a skillful fisherman who catches fish with his beak." If you look around Port Stephens and you see the pelican and you see a black cormorant, you'll always see them with a fish in their mouth. You will see Gangobah diving deep, coming up with a fish, and you will see Dungara in the shallows waiting for the fish to come along. Then he would spear them with his huge beak. And that's the story of Gangobah and Dungara. This is a dreaming story of the first Warramai. In the dream time, there were no people, only animals. Warramai country, Port Stephens, was home to the dolphins and an abundance of sea life and fish, making Warramai a paradise for the dolphins. Life was easy for the dolphins, swimming and nesting in the crystal clear blue waterways. The dolphins would follow the fish from Soldiers Point as they moved up the river waters, chasing and eating them. Once there was this beautiful grey dolphin. Her name was Gupara. And the dolphins used to follow Gupara, and Gupara would swim all over the bay here, chasing the fish, swishing their tails, and so it would be easy to eat their fish. And so one day Gupara said to herself, if we don't do something about protecting these fish or give them some hiding places for protection, then we're going to eat them all and there'll be nothing left and we will starve. So Gupara had an idea, and she swam over to the other side, or the southern side of the bay, over at Tanelba, and she met up with the black dolphin. His name was Wubarai. And she asked Wubarai, "I have an idea. If we don't protect our fish, we will have nothing to eat, because we're chasing them all the time and they have no protection to hide from us." So Wubarai said, "Yes, look, that's a good idea. I'll help you." So they both swam over to Soldiers Point, and they dove down, and with their noses and their tail fins, they started picking up the rocks and flicking them up until eventually they created an island. And the first island they created was Middle Island. Then, when they'd finished that one, they went over to the other parts of the bay and they created the other islands. Bayami, the Great Spirit, was looking down at these two little dolphins working hard to create these islands. And Bayami said, "Gupara and Wubarai, I have been watching you build these islands to protect my fish. Your unselfishness and your kindness shown has impressed me that much that I am going to give you the opportunity to walk on these lands." So the two dolphins were very, very excited. They swam over to the shoreline, and with the powerful kick of their tails, they jumped out of the water. and turned into the first Warramai people to walk these lands. They were the first Warramai.